Hello friends, welcome back. I'm Rocky Outcrop. This is the Rocky Outcrop channel. We're all Rocky Outcrop practitioners together, and this is a Bitcoin technical analysis video. So right now you can see just beside me here the price is 8,442. And what does that mean? Well, it means that as we speak live during recording here, that the CME gap is being filled. So that's kind of interesting. We'll look at that and a lot more in just a moment. But first off, I need to find my Bitcoin. Gonna hold it tight. Gonna get some afternoon delight. Sky rockets in flight. Whoop! Let's dive on into the charts. Okay, so I could probably do with practicing my singing, but don't worry, I'm not about to give up the day job, and and as such, these videos come out daily, so like and subscribe and all that sort of jazz. And yeah, thanks for joining me. So the prices right now, as you can see, 8,439, and let's just start off today on the CME chart, shall we, and just review the situation that we've got here right now. And we can see that the prices have come down as far as this 200 exponential moving average, the 50% retrace. Just double check that. Yep, the 50% retrace from this, from the move from the lows in December up to the highs at Valentine's Day, and we have now actually just filled this gap. So we've had this gap hanging over us for quite a while, and one of the viewers on the channel, shout out to you, sorry, forgotten what your name is, sorry, asked if I thought it was a real gap, if it was legitimate, and well, of course I do. I did always think that. It doesn't really matter to me what size the gap is. And in yesterday's video we pointed out that, I think we pointed out, should have done anyway, that the price action had come down right as far as the actual precipice, the start of this gap here on the top side, but hadn't actually made it down to where the price action was before the gap, and that means it still hadn't been filled. And when it comes to close enough is close enough, well, there's no such thing when it comes to gaps on charts, because gaps will remain gaps until such times as they're filled, and that's what we've been looking at, and that's what's happened. So the question really now becomes, what's the follow through price action going to be? I mean, are we looking at more downside potential here, or will this potentially offer up a zone for the prices to turn around? Well, there's a few different ways of looking at it, and we'll try and figure some things out, but overall, in general, we have to say that the price action has been rather bearish overall. So there's a question of if we're currently in some sort of pattern, like a descending broadening wedge, which in general is a sort of continuation pattern for the trend. So the trend here being up beforehand, that was the prevalent trend at the time of this pattern starting. So you could say, maybe it's more like that, you could say that we are potentially looking at a pattern being there, which could give us some hope for some turnaround in terms of the prices. And also, as it happens, I suppose this bottom side of the broadening wedge is in and around these prices here. So if they did want to turn around here and go up, then this would be a better place for them to do it at than in previous, and than if. Well, I don't know. I mean, if the prices had come down here last week or so, then they would have broken through this broadening wedge, and that would have been kind of bad. It would have made it out invalid, and perhaps been a breakout to the downside, but they haven't, and instead they've done it now in sort of an orderly fashion, you could say. What we've seen the stock markets crash quite badly over the last wee while, and we've had the worst ever day, I think, or one of the worst ever days, or something like that, in the Dow, and the S&P 500 has been doing shocking. Of course, the FTSE 100 fell 3% as well, so really awful overall in terms of traditional markets. And as it happens, Bitcoin doesn't really operate quite yet like a safe haven asset. It doesn't really actually have that same sort of talent that gold has. Just jump over to the gold chart real quick. Gold has of sustaining of creating highs during very bearish cycles in the traditional markets. However, you can see also here in gold that it's kind of gone a bit sideways for the last wee while since getting its 7-year high over here on the 23rd of February. So you know, there's a perhaps people are trying to, in times of panic, initially people kind of move towards cash as well, in terms of just people in general, because they might be scared of things like, for instance, not being able to have access to it, or you know, needing to pay for things in cash. So there's that. in terms of like people wanting to move across borders and things as well, you have limitations on how much cash you can actually carry. So Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies do offer up an alluring aspect to that, to sort of cross border transport of money. So that's an interesting aspect of these things in general, but they're kind of more fundamental aspects, and the news and world events, while they can absolutely have an impact on the price, have to come kind of secondary to the technicals, because that's part of what our discipline really is here on the channel. But so bear these things in mind, though, that of course the world's in chaos to an extent. So prices have been going down actually as a result of that, perhaps. But also perhaps the prices were going down because this is a natural correction during an upward overall cycle in the market. But going over to the monthly, and the reason I bring up the monthly is because go back to the CMEs, in fact, because today will be when the monthly CME chart closes. Of course, tomorrow there's another day in February because it's St. Oswald's Day, and happy leap year to everybody. But in terms of these markets anyway, even if this is Friday, so they'd be closing anyway. So we've got the weekly close, and we've got the monthly close all coming up at once. And you can see overall here that on the CME charts themselves, that they're in that zone here. If this was the last low, and then we've come down here, that we're really looking to see if we can actually get some close above this prices right here. So you're really talking $20 away from where we are right now. Price is currently 8,515 and closes below 8,495 on the CMEs would actually be us putting in a lower low on the weekly time frame. Now, if we go back over to Bitcoin spot prices, you can see that currently we're actually operating in around about that lower low territory. You can see that any prices below 8,596 are lower lows, but we do have, in terms of spot, until Sunday night for them to close. So in terms of today, that's what we're looking at really, the Bitcoin CME futures, how they close, and whether or not we're getting a lower close on the weekly. The monthly chart, you can see here we're right on the 50% as well. So if a small close below here it could imply as well that we'd be looking towards the next Fibonacci target. So that's to say, if we were to close at say 8,495 on the CMEs, you could be expecting the prices on CMEs to go down to 8,010, in which case you could be looking at spot prices traveling down to 7,900 and something like that. And if we just look around that 7,900 level, we see the 618 retracement level right there as well. So could this be aiming for a golden pocket? Forgive the chopsticks there on the chart from the broadening wedge. It's kind of funny how that looks, how it's coming just out of a wick and goes across here outside of the action of that candle. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, so that's what we're looking at really. That's overall what we're looking at there in terms of the price action. If we get a close here on the spot prices on the weekly, so come by Sunday down here in and around where we are, or even in fact in and around that 8,276. Then I would definitely say that we'd be going down to 7,900. So if you're sort of looking at spot prices over the coming weekend, and you're looking for a sort of a benchmark target for where the prices could go in the sort of intermediate time frame here, then just where I'm hovering the mouse around at the minute at 8,300 or so would be what I'd be keeping my eye out for. Now, of course, in terms of like measured moves and everything off the back of these things, yes, you can do that sort of thing, but in the meantime, you're looking towards different targets anyhow. For instance, you've got clear ones that we've is well trodden ground for us now at around that 8,950 level first off, then next up to the 9,550 level, and of course that would be coming in around about the top of this broadening wedge line here, the descending line. So we could be looking around there certainly for taking profits. If the prices do go up and actually manage to open and close above the 8,950 level, then I would start to look down here towards the oscillators and everything else and try and find out if there's any momentum behind that up thrust, and if we could start to look towards making a higher high here. Well, actually, first off, this high here I don't think really counts. So the higher highs would be up here, but if we could make certainly make a higher low, that would be easy enough, given that this is where the lows are now. So we could set one of those in, and on the way up towards setting a higher high. But of course, a high currently, you'd be looking up towards that 10,000 level or so. So there's plenty of opportunities for taking profit along the way and managing risk. I would be somewhat concerned about the prices and whether or not this would play out fully, this sort of pattern that we have here, if the prices were to go up, because I would be looking towards these other levels like the 10,000 round number, psychological number, and things like that to offer up profit-taking opportunities. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice as ever, but that's what I'd be looking out for. But of course, I would expect then that that would actually be going up to try again towards this 10,500, because that would be a resumption of the overall trend, and you'd be looking for perhaps even some sort of double top up here again. Even though you could say we already had a double top during that price action back then. It doesn't look so much like that on the daily, of course, and that's really kind of what I'm looking at. I mean, I could look down, I could look at other things like oscillators and what else we have on the go here. For instance, you have, if this does turn out to be a low here on the spot prices, you can see on the 4-hour chart that there would be bullish divergence, classic bullish divergence, looking at the lows in a downtrend. So the last two here, you can see across all of the oscillators down below that there is bullish divergence, and that's good and healthy to see for a potential turnaround at around this area, potential for support for us. And yeah, so that's really kind of what it is. I mean, of course, there are downside targets, and I'm sure that out there in the world that everybody's kind of got the, fears in the air and all that. But and of course, if we were to break down below 8,445 and the 8,300 level that I pointed out earlier on, then of course, like I said, I'd be looking down to that 7,900. And should that indeed as well break, and we get down there, say we get down and we open and close around the 7,750 level, then I would be looking down as well again to 7,200 for the next port of call. So we really kind of want to avoid all that sort of stuff happening overall and see how it goes, but the areas to be looking out for over the next while are those ones that we brought up so far in the episode today. So thanks very much for joining me. Like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. I hope that you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments down below if what everybody else is saying, because I don't actually watch other analysts and don't look at anybody else's information in the world really for this sort of stuff. So I'd be interested to know. I feel like with all of the news out there about coronavirus and everything else, and the way the stock market's reacting, and how there actually is a correlation kind of between Bitcoin and the stock markets, really, that I wonder really what other people are saying, and if they're looking down towards that 6,000 number again, because of course, this area here, as you can see in the VPVR and everything over here, down in the low 7,000s and the 6,000s is a really big price point for Bitcoin. So could we be looking down towards that? Well, like I say, initially we're looking to stay above the 8,300 level where we had this previous low over here. So thanks so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe, share this with your friends if you think anybody else would like it. I really appreciate it, and a big thank you to everybody who's liked and subscribed so far. Like, I absolutely massively appreciate it. So you're all part of the family. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.